Alright, welcome back to Holiday Display Tips. Tonight I am going to be running over the various securing devices for your inflatables. Going from what I consider worst to best, this starts off with the standard that I find on more solid decorations and every once in a while on an inflatable. Just a straight bar. Basically it has hooks on the bottom of the inflatable. You just stick one end through and just press it right down to the ground, and that's supposedly how it's going to stabilize the device. Our Nova Scotia Frost does not provide the tension on this to be able to actually hold it in place, and a good breeze will pull that right straight out of the ground. I find it basically useful to try and stabilize it as I'm setting it, and then after that I have to actually use something that's useful. This guy, sometimes, depending on your placement, if you're able to get things out of the wind and it's a small enough thing that your stabilizing comes in handy. He works basically the same as a standard tent peg, so you're going to stick him at an angle into the ground. He might go through any sort of hook that you have on the bottom of your inflatable or your solid decoration and go straight down that way, or else he might need one of these strings attached on. That part would go onto this hook, and then you push that down to the ground, stabilize it that way, and then tie the string onto the hook on the inflatable or decoration. He also does not have much keeping him in the ground other than the fact that he's at an angle, so if you angle it properly, you might have a good chance. I've had very mixed responses to this. Next up, this fella. He is probably good, but he was provided along with my 4-foot tall, 7-foot long National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation RV with the tree on top, or station wagon with the tree on top. So he would probably be good on a smaller inflatable, but as much as he has teeth to really hold on there were multiple times when the neighbors would have to go and catch my inflatable for me because it was blowing on down the roads, and they said on the doorstep, very nice of them, not very nice of this device. I think it would be good on a smaller inflatable that you're more thinking that you're okay with this on, but I did not find him good for the use that he was provided for. Next up, this guy is somebody you have to specially order. You can find some examples on my blogs of different screw-in hooks that you can get to provide you quite a bit more tension as the wind and everything is trying to pull out of the ground. Each of these levels is then pushing against ground itself that it's screwed into, and it does provide quite a bit of stability. I did, however, use it on my 12-foot tall Santa, and it did absolutely nothing for him. He tore out of the ground almost every single night. But most of my other decorations, including the RV and the station wagon, did just fine with him. So I will be trialing this year my own little MacGyver maneuver. This is an RV hook, so I will be putting that into the ground and seeing how that works. Stay tuned for that this winter. And then, as I mentioned, this guy is the standard cord that's provided with any inflatable I've come across. He's useful for anything basically that this guy is useful for. So the 4-foot tall, 7-foot long station wagon, he was not great for. The cord snapped a couple of times. The 12-foot Santa, they snapped every single time it went over. So I ended up having to get my own huge rope from Canadian Tire to try and start stabilizing with, and didn't have luck before the end of the season. So that will be something that I'll also be experimenting with this year, getting something quite a bit more intense, but with a bit of elasticity. And this is ultimately what I plan on using instead of that string. As you can see, it is very heavy duty. It is good for towing, good for all sorts of things. And it has the shock absorbing that's super key, because gusts of wind are the biggest enemy of the decorations out there, and that's what ultimately has snapped and torn most of my stuff out, is more the gust than the consistent wind that we could plan for. And that's it for today. Tune in tomorrow for tips and a visual example of me changing out the motor on an inflatable and how to do repairs on tears on inflatables. Have a good night, fellow holiday artists.